When it's wonderful, as y'all know, when it works, you go into a scene, you have 16 different ways to tell the truth. When you're stuck, sometimes you're just trying to protect from telling a lie. Not near as fun. Sometimes you're just like, man, I'm not feeling it. I just feel like I've got to connect the dots, and that's all I really can do. I don't have the song. I don't feel myself in flight. Now, when it's worked, and what I try to find now is from the inside out, get the guy's monologue. And this is something that's kind of come to me and it really helped me in the last couple of years. Get the guy's monologue, then I can have the dialogue. Then I can do a scene if I got the monologue. If I know what's the Socratic dialogue of the man that I'm playing, then have the dialogue. And it's not about the words.
And that's what I did. And what I learned was that these people that I was going to play were not me. And that's the thing I had to look at was how were they similar to me and how were they different from me. And I had to cover those bases so I could understand what makes them different and what makes them similar, and therefore I could create this person that's not living my life, it's living someone else's life. And so that's just how I've approached it, and I guess that maybe people call that character acting, but that's just how I approach acting, period.
But what an actor has to do always, I think, is that you make a journey in and then you have to make the journey back out again. What I mean by that is that you're playing a character fighting something, but your starting point is to have to arrive at that thing they're fighting, you know. Nobody wants to be sad or grief-stricken. Your characters will be trying to resist grief, will want to find their way back to happiness. And that's all you should be playing. You know, the audience mustn't see you trying to be sad, trying to cry, trying to be angry. They must see the opposite. The anger is being vented because you need to vent it. It's not because you want the anger.
I created backstory, but I have to say, I used to be way more strict about it. I would have 100, 150 pages. I mean, I would write a book.
Really?
Now, I don't do that because I find that there is something to be said with leaving yourself alone and being surprised that some things that you may have absolutely thought was true about your character, you get on that stage, and all of a sudden, the other actor will throw you something, you're like, oh no, that's not actually what it is. So I try to do that less.
There's a kind of arrogance about it that is a necessary arrogance. It isn't conceit. It's proper arrogance. You must be able to think yourself better for a second than anyone in the room. It's a horrible thing to say, but it's important that you feel that, as long as you don't carry it on into life. I enjoyed carrying it on into life.
Yes, you have a reputation for being a little difficult.
I got sort of slugged.
Well, I think it's just taking a part of yourself that's like gullible. You know, like I'm a pretty gullible person, and I think if you, because people are asking me, how do you play dumb? You know, how do you do Forrest Gump, or how do you Tim Robbins in Bull Durham or whatever? How do you know? He does that really well. And I think for me, with those characters, there's an innocence, and I think that you just enhance that side of yourself that's gullible or whatever, and that's what that is, I think, that trick. You know, I worked with my acting coach, and I would read it out loud, and there one time accidentally we were just reading it, and I stammered on the word mama, and my acting coach, Terry Knickerbocker, he said, do that again. Do that again. And so I did it. And so we started to make it a thing where every time he said his mama, he would stammer a little bit. And that said a lot about him.
Never go to an audition with the idea that you're going to get some kind of fantastical immediate feedback. Go do your job and leave. No one is ever going to hire someone for a job because they need it. No casting director will ever say, that person really needs a job, let's hire them. No, they're going to hire the person who's best suited for the job. So, in order for you not to show any desperation, go do your job and go home.
I recall once hearing you saying that acting is not intellectual, it's feeling. How do you get to that point of feeling your character?
The only way I could describe it is you're looking for instance, at the way he sounds. And if you listen to the voice and you listen to the speeches, and that's what I started with. He has this slight speech impediment, and there's a lisp to the sound that he makes, and it comes right, and you hear that it also comes down the nose, and he's got this sort of thing, and he had this sort of thing he did with his mouth and his lip. So you're trying to capture that sensation in the mouth, in the sound, and that's what I mean by feeling it, rather than, you can't read a book that could give you that. You have to work and find it through a sensation, and that's the thing you're trying to sort of capture. So it becomes less about intellect and more about what you're feeling. And beyond that, I wouldn't know how to describe it.
When you're acting in front of people, the great thing, of course, is to be relaxed, and that's more easily said than done. What you have to do is to connect absolutely to the character that you're playing and what it is that your character wants, and the relationships that the character has, so that you're in the minute. It's worrying about the performance, thinking about it, being ahead of it, or being behind it, worrying what you just did, that creates trouble for an actor.
I can't say that I have a method. No. I don't think I do. I mean, there is method, but I find that it constantly shifts and changes, and I think that that's a good thing. I'm not sure. I was educated in the way of theater craft and stuff was a very British way of doing things, which meant technique. Yeah. They're all in favor of actually feeling a real emotion and doing that. Yeah. But they just say you are not going to be able to summon that every time, and even if you could summon that every time, you would die young. Yeah. So that you have to be able to at least fake it well. Mm.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it. Yeah. Period. It's that simple.
I know who I am, and I know what I believe.
I know who I am, I know what I believe.
That's all I need to know.
And that's all I need to know. So from there, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what happens is we make the situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
No.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because
we were becoming
something greater.
You are going to be in tremendous competition when you come out here. There's going to be clones of you when you come out here. So in order for you to realize that you're not going to get every audition that you really want, you have to say, it's okay. I'm learning. I did my work. I went into that office and I gave them my interpretation. There it is. And I did well. I did my best. And if you can maintain that and struggle through jobs and waiting tables and tending bar and parking cars and things that you'll have to do for years in order to do this, if you're willing to do that, then you're the type of personality you need.
Preparation is probably more important than anything else. A very famous theatre director once said that preparation was 90% of the job of being an actor. The other 10% was inspiration. But when you've done all the work and you're ready to go before an audience, the one thing you have to be is brave. Without being fearless on stage, you'll never achieve anything that will really change an audience's hearts and minds. Winston Churchill once said that the greatest virtue was courage, because it made all the other virtues possible.
Some very useful tips, I think, for young actors, which I found fascinating. One of them is, in a close-up, choose just one eye of the actor you're playing opposite.
Yeah, and don't go from eye to eye. The reason you choose an eye is because in this shot now, the camera is obviously there shooting me. If I look at you with this eye into your other eye, you've lost me. If I look at you with this eye into that eye, this eye is in the camera. And if you want to play strong, don't blink. If you want to play weak, blink. I mean, don't deliberately blink, but just, you can break it. But if you really want to play strong and you just look at someone like that, this camera can see this eye. And never change eyes. Only actors do that. People don't do that in real life.
I just think that everybody has everything in them, and that usually directors and casting people see so little of what you have. They see so little of your potential. You have everybody in you. And people who really want to act and do it, you know, can access all kinds of horrible things. And that's what we ask them to do, actors.
You have to know what it is that you're saying. You have to know that, of course, you have to trust, you have to make the alliance of the people who are going to be making the movie as well in order to help you shape. But you have to know deep down inside somehow the truth behind what the character is going through, even though you will maybe you may never get a chance in order to actually verbalize it. But you have to understand that, you have to know that the risk that the character is running every step of the way.
Without that, you have nothing.
There's one other element that you need to become successful, and it's the elusive element, and that is luck. Everyone needs luck. There is no successful career without luck. Getting a successful series like being struck by lightning, it was incredibly lucky. And let me just tell you just a quick little story about that. The year that I got Malcolm in the Middle, I had tested for 2 other pilot series, one at NBC and another one at Fox, and I didn't get it. It was between me and 2 other guys on the NBC one, and I didn't get that one. Went to Fox a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and did it again. 3 days after that, I get this call for Malcolm in the Middle to play the dad. That hits, it becomes a big success, and that's where I went. Had I gotten those other jobs, one of those other jobs, I would have done the pilot, neither one of those shows sold, and I would have been looking for another job. So it takes that kind of luck and faith that it's going to work for you. And sometimes when you don't get a job, it means maybe there's something that's really right for me right around the corner. So you have to have that fortitude that it's going to turn around. Just keep focused on your work. That's the most important thing. Know what your job is and focus on it.
Well, De Niro did come. Robert De Niro did come. Yeah, that
do
was
you
a
know
big
he's
deal.
going to be in the
I
audience
like
ahead
to
of
know
time?
who's going to come.
You do?
Yeah, actually I do. I feel like it gives me a lot of energy. I love to know. Some people don't like to know.
Yeah, we have a friend who, Sarah, who does not like to know.
No, I love it. Actually, it really gives me juice.
Craft. I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. You know, while the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
I mean, in a movie, in my impression, is what you're to be a good movie actor. If the audience is sitting there saying, "Oh, isn't Michael Caine a wonderful actor?" then I've done it all wrong. They should be saying, "I wonder what's going to happen to Harry Brown now." You know, that's the difference.
And that thing about drunk acting, there's a similar one, which again I'd never thought of. That somebody who is crying is in fact someone who is trying not to cry.
No, it's when men cry, in particular. Men will do anything but cry. You know, and so they are all men. When you cry, you must fight the tears, and if you fight the tears, the audience will cry for you.
Thank you very much.
Catch. I love it when you catch somebody in a scene. I love entrances and exits. I love doing all the work about, well, let's backload about where the guy's coming from and why, how he got here, and where's he going. I love to finish scenes. Anytime there's the, the old ... Finish it out, write it out. Expound, just finish, right? And I write a lot on scripts, write way more than I ever actually say, but I have it. It loosens me up on the entrance and the exit. And I like it when I'm seeing actors, and I think I like my work best when I'm feeling like I'm being caught, coming in, and caught going out. And maybe if it's in the entire picture, if you feel like that 2 hours that you watched was not just a finite piece of the story. I like watching films and characters that I go, I'm watching the film and I love imagining what they were doing the 5 years before and where they're going after that, the 5 years after. There's always a prequel and a sequel and a follow-up, even if there's not in films. I like to at least have that understanding and feel, and let my imagination go, that I got a real good idea what this guy was doing the last 5 years and what they'll be doing for the next 50.
Some of the best roles I've ever played have just been in 5-minute auditions that no one's ever seen. The amount of times I've gotten in, into my car or on the train after an audition and just like wanted to scream or screamed or even cried at times. I was just like, but it's good. I mean, hearing no that many times really, it builds you a skin that puts you ready to take on anything in the world.
I think I've always had a pretty good work ethic, and I also, I believe that, and Lord Attenborough told me this 20 years ago, Dickie, who passed away recently, he said, when you find your ambition, all this stuff will clear up. Now, it's never that simple.
You find your ambition?
My ambition, yeah. So when you stop thinking about yourself as someone who's on the outside and you start really seeing what's possible for me, what could I do, how could I put these jabs together and maybe get a shot at the title, that's when he thought all this other stuff would clear away. And it wound up being something that was apropos not just for me, but for for a lot of other people that he did.
And actors have what they call the phrase or the word behavior. Movies are about, and acting is about behavior, meaning it's not what you say, because that's usually to disguise what you're really feeling in life. It's your behavior, or now we hear words like body language, that gives you up. And it's the behavior of the person.
I'd say, if you love doing it, keep doing it, because you have to do it because you love it, because it's a tough business. I don't want to be negative, but there's a lot of, and it's my experience, a lot of rejection starting out. You just have to do it because you love doing it. And, have perseverance, I would say. And I was talking to William Hurt once, who was, when I was a young actor, and he was doing a play that my dad was in, this play Hurly Burly, and I got to spend some time with him. I was like in my early 20s, and I really was a fan of his. And he said he knew so many young actors when he was starting out. I think he went to Juilliard, that quit before because they didn't have the perseverance. They weren't able to, stick with it. And I think that's, you just have to give it as much of a shot, even when sometimes people.
It's simpler than you think, and and it's very hard for actors, and I get caught up in that myself, where you have to do more, do something, and you don't have to do anything. Nothing, and you're better off, and it'll work the way people are in life. They don't do anything. They could, I'm talking to you and I'm looking at your expression, and you could have been told that somebody in your family was this or that, some terrible thing. You're still going to have the same look on your face, and that says more, allows the audience to read into it as opposed to you telling them what they should feel. And actors tend at times to try and say they have to give it something, and they don't have to give it anything. So with David, if we're just working and doing all these things, you don't have time to think about, well, this or that, or how do I spin it or interpret it. You just have to do it, and it'll take care of itself.